submitted home tasks. Good job. And with that, I'll give a mic to Artyom, and we will move forward with the lesson number 3.
Okay. Hi, guys. Today we'll be talking about Jenkins shared library. First of all, let me switch off camera and share my screen. Okay. So what was done on previous 2 lessons? We installed Jenkins and we ran our first pipeline. And let's look at our sample pipelines. As far as you remember, we've got the same code in each step. So we have step build, echo something, then bash commands, date ID and sleep one, then for stage test, and then for stage deploy. And for example, let's imagine that we have multiple pipelines for multiple projects, but we need to use same steps or same code inside these steps. Let me share you one image. One moment. What we are going to do in this lesson? If we run multiple pipelines or we run the same code inside different stages in the same pipeline, we can repeat our code as here. Here you can see that we are repeating our code in each step. What if we would like to change maybe the date comment or maybe the ID comment to change sleep not 1 minute but 2 minutes, and imagine that we have multiple pipelines. So we need one place to change it and do according to the rule, don't repeat yourself. What could be done? We can use GitHub as a pipeline library. Then we can keep our parts of our pipeline inside Jenkins library. And then each time a pipeline is built, update code from a central repository. So let's dive in. First of all, we need to create a repository in GitHub. So let's do it together with me. It's pretty straightforward. We click add. For example, let's call it my shared library. And my repository will be public, as there is nothing special. And if you run this on your product environment, you should use private, of course. And make sure I don't use README file inside this library. So let's create repository. So we have, it's done. Then I would suggest you to create a repository on any machine you have. For example, let's go to console and let's create the same directory. It's view my shared library, and here it is required to create bars directory inside it. And inside, we're going to inside vars. And here, let's create new file. Will be groovy info or show info.groovy. It will contain a simple function, def call. And inside this function, we have the same comments as we will run in our previous pipelines. It's date, ID, and sleep. Let's save it. Then we need to push our code to GitHub. First of all, we need to init this directory, git init. Then I need to add everything. What is here? Git commit, show info.groovy created. And let's create. And let's git push to GitHub. So now we can see that here at our shared library, we can see our var directory. Inside it, we have show info.groovy. Yes, it will be our shared library for Jenkins. Next, let's go to Jenkins itself. And to work with GitHub, it is required to install a GitHub plugin. Let's go to dashboard, manage Jenkins, plugins. And as we installed Blue Ocean on the previous lesson, I suppose GitHub has been installed also. Let's check available plugins. Git. There are so much plugins for the installed. Installed plugins, sorry. GitHub has been already installed because we installed, I suppose, because of we installed the Ocean plugin. It contains GitHub. So next, it is required to create a GitHub repo in Jenkins itself. We're going to manage Jenkins, system. And we are looking for global pipeline libraries section. Down. Oh, here it is. Let's remove it. I was just testing it beforehand. Let's create. I suppose the name will be my shared library also. Default version, it means which branch in Git we will be using, main branch. And the retrieve method, modern source code management. Here is Git, and we need to add project repository. My project repository could be find here, code HTTPS, and let's copy paste it to this field. And as the repository is publicly accessed, I don't use any credentials for this repository. and click Save. Okay, now Jenkins pipeline library was configured inside Jenkins, and now we need to implement it in Jenkins pipeline. And we will be using a function in Jenkins shared library, which was already created here. Vars show info.gui. Let's create new pipeline. It will be called a sample pipeline with function, type pipeline. And let's create it based on the first one, sample pipeline. Here you can see a code you are very familiar with. And to the first line, it is required to add this code. It means we are going to use our library, which is called my shared library, which we just configured inside Jenkins. And then I would suggest to replace this command to a function. Just to use one function in spite of multiple lines of code. Okay, we did it. So let's try to build it. Okay, it was successful. Let's check the console output. Here we see the same comments as was in our Jenkins shared library: date, ID, and sleep. Let's change something. For example, we are required to change one comment. Maybe, what should we do? Change the ID to EWD, the point work directory. Commit our changes. And let's build it once again. Build now. And okay, it was successful. Let's check console output. Okay, you can see point working directory in spite of ID command. That's great. Okay, then let's move forward. What if we need multiple functions inside one file? Let's create a new pipeline based on this pipeline. Just one moment, you will see what I'm talking about. This function. And here we would like to change show info to another script. I suppose it's correct. Okay, that's great. Here we'll be using show info script file inside var directory in our GitHub repository, and we'll be using different functions for each task. And let's click save, and it will fail if we build it. Let's check, because there is no such function on our Jenkins shared library. Okay, we can see it. Let's look at console output, building, and there is some errors. Okay, we are going to add a new file. It could be done just here. Add file, create new file. The file name should be exactly the same as in Jenkins configuration, as in Jenkins pipeline. Let's check it. So if we are running a function show info script camel case, show info script should be the same in camel case because it's case sensitive. And inside this file, we are creating 3 different functions. First functions is date, ID, sleep. And here you can see a variable time. And inside function, we are using this variable. So this is the way how we can use a variable inside pipeline libraries. Let's commit changes. Okay, now we have the second shared library. And let's try to build our pipeline again. Now it should work. Okay, now you can see it's green and successful. So let's look at it. Date, the ID, and sleep for 1 second. So everything as we expected to see. For example, let's change it a little bit. Let's go to our pipeline. And now we have an option to sleep different time amount. For example, let's change it to 3 seconds and this for 2 seconds. Save and build again. Let's look at console output. As expected, 1 second. Here, 2 seconds, and here is 3 seconds. That's great. What if don't repeat yourself strategy is needed for whole Jenkins pipeline? We have a solution. We can define a declarative pipeline in Jenkins shared library. For this task, let's create a new library in GitHub, add file, create new file, and let's call it even or odd.groovy. It will be a very simple pipeline that will print even or odd build number in our pipeline. Let's look at it very carefully. First function is call. We are using a variable as a build number. It's inside variable inside Jenkins. Then in this case, we are using pipeline agent any, and here is only one stage, and we just showing this the build number is even, and opposite there is message the build number is odd. Let's commit our changes. And let's create new pipeline. So we will call it a sample pipeline from library. It will be whole pipeline from library. And as in previous pipelines, we need to make an import of all library functions. Underscore, by the way, it means that we are importing all stuff for shared library. Please keep it in your mind that this underscore is highly important here. And as we have already defined whole pipeline inside library, you can just use its name, and then as an argument, we are using a variable current build get number. And let's click save and run it. It was successful, and as it was first build number, it is odd. Let's build it again. So the second should be even. Okay, the build number is even. Okay, let's move forward. Let's have a look at our pipeline with multiple functions. Here we can use the same echo, but with different arguments: build application, testing application, deploying application. So let's do something with this just to avoid repeating our code. We are going to our first function. And for example, let's edit this pipeline and add argument stage, for example. And let's add echo stage. Okay, and now our function as the input stage, and this is the echo. Oh, sorry, not this character. Okay, it seems to be correct. Let's commit change. And now we are going to edit pipeline. Show date, it will be building application. Not show date, it is called show info. Testing application. And here is deploying application. Okay. Okay, let's save it and build. Okay, it is working as expected. Deploying application, testing application, and building application. So that's how a pipeline works. Let's keep in mind that we should include all shared libraries functions inside one directory in your shared library on GitHub. And as for diagram, let me show you once again. So what was done here? Let's recap what we were doing. We have updated a pipeline library inside GitHub repository, and then we were using this updated pipeline library each time we run a build. So I suppose that's all for today's lesson.
Any questions? Cool. Then thank you, Artyom, very much. Awesome as usual. And let's meet next Wednesday. And yeah, one more announcement. We will not do Friday session, and instead of Friday,